Chat if the StarCraft volume is too high or my voice is too low, or who knows what else could go wrong. I'm sure there's plenty. Alright, so anyways, spawning up here in the top left corner of Ascension Ire, we have our purple Zerg. It is World's Doom. And in the bottom right, we have in the green, it is our Protoss player, Drumhead. Okay. So, starting out this game, Drumhead's going to scout across the map pretty quickly. And meanwhile, we got a hatch first coming down here for World's Doom. So, pretty casual first game, I guess if you want to call it that. No one is, you know, gone too far just yet. You know, sometimes you get into a series and then, you know, you really want to win, or your opponent's really pissed you off or something, you know. You just kind of go a bit too far in some places. But this is just a start. Drumhead and World's Doom have yet to do anything horrible to each other. Alright. So luckily Drumhead comes over here and he doesn't scout a 14 pool. He does scout that hatch first. And he also sees the pool followed shortly after, so he knows it's not a 3 hatch or something crazy like that. Meanwhile, World, choosing not to scout, has an Overlord queued in to come into the natural later on, or come by it. Probably going to swing in later. Meanwhile, Drumhead's probe still here in the main. Yeah, probably just going to wait till he gets cleared out here by some lings, see if he can see any other tech. Yeah, World's Doom doesn't have a 3rd hatch down just yet. I think the timing for that's around like 3:30 for versus Protoss. I'm not sure, but anyways, it'll be coming down soon. And looks like Drumhead knows the timing and those lings are going to come out, and he's going to pull his probe away. And those lings are out here. Going to make sure that he can secure that 3rd base. So, meanwhile at that Drumhead's base, he hasn't committed to any tech just yet. He does have 100 gas, so he will be able to now. And it's going to be the Twilight Council. It's going to be the tech of choice. Sick. Okay. Speed on the way, Twilight Council coming in. That DT drop build's still pretty meta, I think. So that's probably what it's going to be, especially if this Rebel facility following that up. And we have a Roach Horn coming down as well. Oops. So it looks like that's going to be World's Doom's response. Or maybe his decision. We'll have to see what that might be. Actually, it looks like it's going to be a charge build here. So this could be one of those charge builds that we see Protoss using a lot recently. They pretty much just get a Warp Prism and a bunch of like charge zealots, and then they just drop into your base. This is normally like a 2-base. I'm not sure if you want to call it an all-in, but it definitely has the potential to be one. But they get a bunch of gateways, get some zealots, and they just pretty much drop them in the main base and start warping them in. And oftentimes, unless the Zerg has been pooling units, it's very hard for them to deal with just the sheer amount of charge zealots that the Protoss player could warp in. At the very least, they get a lot of equity, and are just able to trade very efficiently versus the Zerg. And sometimes they just outright win you the game. World's Doom does have a decent amount of queens. He's actually going up to 6 right now. So that'll be very helpful for dealing with this. The key factor here will be killing that Warp Prism. Because if you kill the Warp Prism, obviously, then that means that he cannot warp in any more Zealots. And looks like he has a 2nd Warp Prism on the way. This is something you've seen a lot from Drumhead actually before. Is he gets a couple of Warp Prisms and he actually likes to multitask all over the place. He'll just be dropping you at 2 places at once and just force you to make mistakes somewhere. And he's actually really good at it. When you see a build like this a lot normally, I normally kind of dismiss it and think like it's a bit too fancy. But from what I've seen Drumhead do, honestly, like he does a really good job at it. And he can control both these prisms very well. So we have the first one coming in here. It's a good idea to never show both of them immediately. Unfortunately, all these queens here, unfortunately for Drumhead, all these queens here in position are going to force that out. Only took a bit of hull damage. However, the second one is coming down there, and World is Doom's probably going to be pretty fucking confused when he sees that one come in. Because he'll be like, how the hell did that move down there so quickly? But anyways, that one's still up here at the top corner, and those queens are moving down. So there's a lot of roaches here actually at the third base, so this is going to be Archons? Yeah. That's not going to be able to do a whole lot. So that prism's going to come in. Looks like all those roaches should be enough to ward that off. They will take some damage if he decides to drop them out, but I don't think it's worth it. Those roaches do have the potential to pick off an Archon, which you, as a Protoss player in this situation, you really can't let happen. Third base coming down for Drumhead. With his opening, like he's forced a decent response from World to make more roaches, and so the probe to drone count's actually pretty even, which is, you know, a good thing for the Protoss. Drumhead knows pretty much exactly what's going on. He has good vision, and he does have 2 war prisms on the map. So if World is Doom heads out, he can always just drop in the main and third base if he feels like it. This is an odd part of the game, I think, for Zerg. I think, from what I've noticed anyways, just from like watching games, a lot of these drones aren't doing anything. These 2 are just, there's 3 of them just like sitting there. Anyways, from what I've noticed, just a lot of Zergs seem to have a bit of trouble at this phase of the game. Feels like the Protoss options for aggression at this phase are normally pretty strong, and they force you to make a lot of units, which I think kind of goes against the standard meta we've seen from Zerg over the past like couple of years, which has been like, just get to 70 drones as quickly as you can, build as few units as possible, and then just macro up. And so a lot of Zergs try to like really go for that style, but the thing is, with the aggressiveness that we see from Protoss players in the meta recently, it's very hard to keep yourself alive while getting up to 70 drones as quickly as you can. World is Doom has been very good about it. He's up to 70 now, and he's getting his 4th base. But he definitely did not overdrone. He made sufficient enough units, while at the same time he didn't cripple himself. And it looks like we're going to have a big fight here. World is Doom and Drumhead squaring off here. That's a decent amount of charge lots. He's warping in some more, and he has some Archons and some Immortals, and a lot of sentries. He has 7 sentries all here. And they have decent energy on them, so those force fields going to do wonders versus the Banelings. And the Hydra Den is just only now finished, and Hydras are really what you need to get over those force fields. They can have the range to shoot over them. He does have some Ravagers, Jesus Christ, I just said it like Tasteless does. But yeah, let's see, this army's coming up here, no force fields used, a couple Banelings blowing up there on some Zealots. So really nice force fields here actually, and looks like Drumhead's just going to pull back for a second. I think he's just, oh, he was over here multitasking. But he's also just making sure that he's not getting surrounded. Some Corrosive Bowels actually coming down, hitting a sentry. Don't want to be losing any of those if we can. Late on the force fields, actually, Banelings crashed into this army, and wow, these Banelings are just going to clean this right up. And I don't think World is Doom lost too much from that attack. He only lost, oh, he did lose his drone line here, and he will lose that hatchery. But still, that was a lot of units lost for World is Doom, and these Archons do not have any cover, and all these Archons and Immortals are going to go down. And those are the expensive tech units of this army. That War Prism even going to go down as well. And yeah, these Charged Zealots going to fight here versus these Ravagers, but they will get cleaned up in the end. And all in all, I don't think that was worth it. That Mothership Core even going down as well. With that Mothership Core going down, that really leaves Drumhead open for a counterattack. Once World decides to bulk up his units here, he doesn't have a whole lot of layers left, only 7. So he really has to be careful with what he spends his money on. But he also really needs to deal some damage back geez, he's floating a lot of resources. You can see how micro-intensive that fight was, especially if all the multitasking that Drumhead did. It really forces you to focus on only defending and not on injecting. And you can see that in the money count here. Is World's Doom just can't spend his money because he didn't inject enough. And that's a lot of charge lots here actually, and there's no Banelings with this army immediately. Baneling speed is done now, luckily. So, but we do have charge about, or not charge, sorry, storm about to finish up here, and yeah, this is going to be really hard for World of Doom to do anything once charge finishes, or not charge, storm. But he does have hydras of his own out, but kind of crappy for him that he is getting them out pretty much right when storm finishes. We even see a Dark Templar Shrine, whatever those are called, just Dark Shrines, whatever. So he'll be able to warp in DTs, which could go pretty well if he decides to use his extra warp prism for some multitasking here. And he does have a couple Templars. Looks like he's going in for some storm drops. Meanwhile, World of Doom's going to go in here and poke at the natural. Not sure how I feel about this move actually. If he can get some good Baneling detonations on the probes and back away, I think he's in a good spot. I really don't want him to commit to a fight here. He really needs to just tech up. He's lost a lot of drones at home from the storm drops. He does have Zerglings in position to deal with that. And these Banelings are going to connect to some Zealots. That was some pretty good connects there. And Drumhead's lost about 30 probes here, so that's pretty significant for him. And these Zerglings not going to be able to pick off anything unless they target it. I don't think they'd get that if they did. But anyways, Drumhead, he's lost a lot of his economy, but he still has a pretty strong army. And he hasn't lost much of his army's infrastructure, and he also has his base up here. So he's in a decent position. Meanwhile, we do have World of Doom. He's on 5 bases currently, and he has 60 drones, so that's not bad. He's also teching into a lot of things at once. Getting a Spire, getting Lurkers. So, oh, gets that Observer. At this point, I feel like World of Doom just needs to stay on the defensive, and just tech up to whatever he wants to tech into. This army is coming in here at this 5th base. World of Doom's army is in position to deal with this. We don't have any force fields available with this force, so I think this is actually a bad move out here for Drumhead. We do have Storm on the way though, and that was just going to shred right through all these Lings and Banelings. Charge Lot's coming in here. He's getting a decent position. World of Doom is going to need to commit here. Baneling is coming in there. All of these units are bunched up, and they're going to get some premium connects here on this army. Now the Hydras and the Lings and Ravagers can move forward, and they're going to get pretty good connects, or surface area, whatever you want to say, on the rest of these units. And that was a very expensive trade for Drumhead. Luckily, he was able to use his DTs to great advantage there, killing off the 20 drones in the process. But still, he's only evened up the worker count. He has killed the base, though, which is great. He is going to lose these DTs, though. I think he's lost all 3 of them. But still, 3 DTs got a lot of value there. He did lose a lot of army. It's going to take quite a while for Drumhead to build that back up. And we have a Warp Prism with 1 Stalker and 3 Zealots. I've never seen that before in my life. But it's happening. Crazy new tactics from Drumhead. And unfortunately, Drumhead didn't go for a Stargate this game, so he only has Blink Stalkers. Or no, he doesn't even have Blink yet. He only has Stalkers to deal with these Mutalisks. He does have Archons though, which will do pretty well versus the Mutas if they get them in a fight. But ideally, you know, World isn't going to let that happen. He's getting up to a significant number. He has, what, 8 right now, so he's getting up to 11, which is a pretty decent chunk of Mutalisks. Warp Prism's in the main here. These Mutas will actually be really good if they can just clean that up. That'd be great for World of Doom. And I feel like World is in a pretty good spot this game. Holy crap, that catch rate is 50 HP. I don't know if Drumhead knows that. If he knew that, I feel like you should definitely just drop it to Charge Zealots and target that down. Like 3 Zealots can kill that like 2 seconds flat. Not even. Like more like 2 seconds under par or something. Drumhead has been able to stay on this 4th base for quite a while. Though I still think he's in a pretty bad spot this game, especially after losing that Warp Prism. And with the Mutalisks here, he will be, World of Doom will be able to constantly just harass and do damage. I mean, no Archons with this army. These mutas can just fly over top of it. Yeah, one Archon comes out, but I think if World of Doom wanted to, he could just magic box that Archon and kill it. But probably not the best thing to be spending your actions on right now, is magic boxing a single Archon. Might as well just do what he's doing now. This is a lot less APM intensive. He can just run in, kill some probes, and back at home, you know, he's just getting up his units, spending his money. And he will be maxed pretty shortly. Even if he loses all the mutas here, I really feel like he's fine. He's going to lose a couple of them. Link Stalker is going to pick off quite a few. But he can just remake them if he feels like. Meanwhile, we have Drumhead. Looks like you're trying to move out. Again, no force fields with this army, and when you go into these charge lot Archon armies, you really need the force fields to make the difference here. He's going to try to move up to the high ground, but he does have high ground vision and Raptors, so I don't think this is going to pan out very well. Muta's coming in, they're going to finish off this warp prison, and I think that should be game. Yeah, so from this point on, the game's pretty much in World of Doom's favor, unequivocally. Meal's going to fly in here, and they're going to start picking off some more of Drumhead's probes. I don't think there's any chance Drumhead can muster up a force to fight this off. Plus 0 stalkers are not what you want to deal with Eaglisks, or anything really. And these Lings gonna clean up the space here, and Immortal does come out, but it's gonna be GG. And let's see, let's control 5. Okay, so we'll head into game 2 here shortly. I do have to log back in every single game we go through, but that's okay. That's probably pretty loud. Hope that's not annoying. But anyways, loading into our next replay here. Would have been great if I had made some title cards or whatever to put in between, but that takes a lot more effort than I have the time to spare. Okay. Okay, so now we're looking at the video game. So let's start her off. So spawning up here in the top left corner of the map in the purple, we have World of Doom. And in the bottom right, we have our green Protoss player, Drumhead. That last series is pretty close. I know World of Doom and Drumhead are, like, they seem like they're friends or something, because they're always like messing around with each other. Just being friendly, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know their relationship. I assume they're friends, because they always like talk shit about each other and stuff. Like jokingly, but I'll just assume they're friends. But I think they probably play versus each other a decent amount. And they have some history. So they probably know each other pretty well. And they're pretty evenly matched, which is always nice to see. That last game was definitely, I wouldn't say it was back and forth, but like it had some pretty close moments. And Drumhead going for another early scout. This time he has chosen to get that gateway on the low ground. Pretty popular on this map. I think it's because of the small choke distance here in the natural. Same opening as we seen last game, so nothing crazy. This is just a good old macro game. we'll have to see what Drumhead decides to go for this game. I really feel like he's probably going to be the initiator in most of these fights. I won't call him like an aggressive Protoss, but he likes his multitasking and he likes his drops. And I think World is Doom knows that. And I think World will probably just try to play like defensive versus drops in particular and try to get up to a later game. Got an adept coming out first here. Don't see lowering speed just yet. He has the gas for it if he decides to go for it. Honestly, if never mind. I guess he does get it. I was gonna say if I was World's Doom and I was going for a roach-based play, like we seen him do last game, I'm not even sure if I'd worry about doubling speed this early. Maybe get it a bit later, but yeah, I don't know. I guess it's still useful and always helpful. Especially because World Doom hasn't drone scouted or even done like initial Overlord scout. So his scouting information is always quite delayed to the point where he mostly waits for like the tech to be decided before he gets to scout. And I think this is the same build as last game, Twilight Council and the Robo. So if we see charge again, it's definitely the same build. And actually World Doom being a bit I hesitate to use the word cheeky because I hate that term, but we'll just say being a bit unique. And well, I guess that's not even unique, like fucking every Zerg does this, but he's just doing a thing where he gets the gold base. Actually, I really hate when casters use the word cheeky. I find myself saying it a lot, but it's like whenever I hear other casters say it, I like cringe. Unless it was Kalaris saying it, then that's okay. Or Apollo. That's their word. Alright, so it looks like Drumhead will scout this out pretty much as soon as it finishes. Which is pretty good. And I think this will definitely be his target for harassment. And interestingly enough, it's not charged this time. We have glaives on the way. So it looks like it's just going to be a glaive drop. I'm not sure how all-in Drumhead's going to be with this or how aggressive. But Drumhead is normally a player that really delays his food base in favor of aggression. Do you have a Warp Prism? Yeah, no. So, he normally will delay his food for quite some time. This game doesn't look like it, but we see in last game his food was quite delayed because he gets hit that extra prism a lot. With this build, however, he's just going for the one prism. Sorry. Glaives will finish up here pretty shortly. And it's just going to be 4 gate adept, so just going to be able to warp in 4 adepts at a time, put on some light pressure, and yeah, nothing too crazy. Looks like he's going for the main move at first instead of going for that third base. Deciding doesn't really want to go for it. Alright, so adept being warped in. Should do 3 more here. And getting up a third base and a forge. So definitely transitioning into a later game. He only has 3 gases as well, which I think is fairly uncommon at this point in the game. Really opting to get some more minerals. It's warping in some more adepts. There's 5 here currently. That Warp Prism actually took a lot of damage from that. And yeah, these adepts not really paying for themselves. Yeah, he got just about nothing with those adepts. That was honestly really bad. The Warp Prism's pretty low, down to about half HP. I mean, it's a lot of adepts he lost. I mean, he can put them underneath here and shoot up at these drones, I guess. Could probably pick out a couple of these. Still, that Warp Prism is pretty low. He can't even risk going back in there to pick up those adepts or else he loses it, I think. He hasn't even gotten a single drone. World is Doom literally losing nothing to this. It's going to get a couple lings. That's the first damage drone it's going to get this game. And looks like these adepts will be greeted by these queens here. They might be able to get the first drone kill. Yep. Second one. Third one. And 3 drones go down in total. It's the best damage Drumhead has been able to find this game, which is unfortunate for him. He's going into charge in +1 now. And he has 2 robos out already. He's taking his gold base. World of Doom does see that though. World of Doom has a pretty decent skid on the situation. I would see a 4th base on the way here for World of Doom, which is funny. They actually took like opposite 4th bases. But yeah, World of Doom is doing pretty well in that early game. Drumhead did lose a lot of adepts though for pretty much nothing. Although he is ahead in workers, which is I'm not sure why exactly that is. I guess World of Doom kind of delaying it a bit. He has been getting some decent tech out of it, like he's getting +1 range and melee. So it looks like he's probably going to go into Ling Hydra Bane, or Hydra Ling Bane as the kids call it. Alright, so some more adepts being warped in here. They do a +1 this time, which is only, I think, only impactful versus Zerglings in this matchup. Maybe impactful versus Hydros, I don't know. If he targets down that Prism, actually, he could kill it. There's not the. I think the range upgrade just finished for the Hydras. Either way, not a lot of damage really done with that. He really needs to transfer some of these workers to the 3rd base. Yeah, as you can see, the income's pretty good for Drumhead as he's saturated. Well, I guess he's not saturated better, but he's. Yeah, I guess he is saturated a bit better. Anyways. Drumhead's played a pretty clean macro game so far, with the exception of losing those adepts early on. But still, I mean, the adepts, they're pretty inexpensive, so it's kind of okay to lose them. Really big adept warping coming in at this base. Oh no, there's a zealot, my bad. Yeah, looks like he's just gonna target down the base, like straight up. This is the strategy we've seen. I think we've seen this a lot more in HOTS than we did in Legacy. And Legacy, I think it's often emphasized to go for worker kills, whereas in HOTS, the base denial was a lot more important. But still, like, look, that was 6 zealots, and they got that hatchery to half HP. And for some reason, he's making it into a lair. I think that is definitely a misclick. Because that's just going to make it even better when Drumhead finally picks that off. Well, what the he's getting 4 layers. Yeah, that definitely must be a misclick. He probably meant to. What is the hotkey to make workers? I'm not sure. Assuming World of Doom plays on like normal hotkeys. Let's say the lurker hotkey is L. Maybe he clicked that by mistake, and that's why he's making 4 layers. Or this is some crazy plan to give all of his hatcheries plus 500 HP. I don't know. This seems really weird. I definitely don't think that was intentional. Another base up here. A lot of foot tank getting has been roped in now. And that's a dislocated bin and drop. He's gonna run in here and he's gonna kill only 3 probes actually for all of his troubles. Not the greatest connects there. But still, World of Doom has a lot of resources to spend. He's almost maxed out. And he really likes to commit to these mutalisks after the initial thing there. Some more Zelts coming in here. They're going to get cleaned up for the cost of a couple Lings and 1 Spine Crawler. Definitely not the most impactful trade. But World of Doom doing a good job putting up some static D. We have a pretty scary looking army here for Drumhead though. That's a lot of Immortals. Even I would go as far to say it's too many Immortals. Even though that might seem like a bit of a stupid statement because oracles are fucking really good. But like versus a mainly Ling Bane comp, I definitely don't feel like immortals are ideal. He isn't maxed out yet though. And I think he just lost a sentry there. Huge Zealot Warpin going down. This is pretty much split map. Once this base gets taken, then we can officially call it that. Oh, that was a lot of Banelings for not a lot of value. I don't know what he killed exactly there. I think that was like 2 Immortals maybe for like 15 Banelings. It's really not worth it. But Worldless Doom was maxed, so he did need to clear up some supply. It looks like he's going into the Lurkers though, which really I think favors Drumhead's army comp actually. Like the way to clear Lurkers is pretty much just brute force them with Immortals because they're so friggin' tanky. And that's really just gonna favor Drumhead in these engagements. I guess it is better than Banelings though, by a bit. It'll really come down to the engage. Let's see if Worldless Doom decides to engage here. 1 Lurker going down. Some decent Lurker spines connecting to some of this army. But still not the greatest spine connects, whatever you want to call them, that we've seen. He does pick away at the Observer, so that means that he can only hit these Lurkers of his Storm. And we do have a Zealot Warping coming in here, but these Mutalisks have spotted it. I think they killed the Warp Prism that was there. These Zealots really aren't going to accomplish a whole lot. There's only 1 mineral patch here with like 10 minerals left. Another Warp Prism getting picked off. Worldless Doom doing a really nice job with the multitasking here. And some Lurker Spines connected with this army. They didn't kill anything, but they really injured a lot of these units. No Observer here to sit. Oh yeah, there's one I think. Somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. But still, when you have like singular Lurkers like that, it just makes like approaching them a lot harder. I'm interested to know why Worldless Doom is only on +1 range and nothing else. I guess he's trying to just flood units, and he's doing a pretty good job at it. Like this entire army has gotten cleaned up here by Drumhead. I think he was overextending there just a little, especially with how big his bank is. I think you want to just bleed off units slowly. You don't want to just like step in a huge pile of Zerg and get fucked like that. Another Warp Prism gonna go down here. And Mulus in the main. They're gonna pick away at these pylons. It's gonna be a while before they can depower these Stargates though. And we do have 3 Phoenix on the way. I don't know where that 3rd Stargate is, but it's somewhere. We have a Dark Shrine here as well. I do like Worldless Doom's tactic here of only getting the 6 mutas. Normally I think the number people tend to go for is 5, but I mean 6 is fine. And looks like Drumhead is trying to go into carriers here. He doesn't have a lot of supply here, and Worldless Doom is maxed out, so this is definitely Worldless Doom. This is Worldless Time's time to shine. That sounds retarded. Okay, a lot of Photon Overcharges going down. But the base will get cleaned up, and this is still a pretty important base. He does have gas here and a lot of minerals. He didn't oversaturate these bases, so he still has a lot of money here. Worldless Doom does have a pretty big air force, so he really can't afford to like deal with any of the carriers that come out. And it looks like Drumhead's decided on the offensive warpins rather than defensive. I think he I don't know what he's trying to do. Trying to force the army back, I guess, but he's trying his damnedest. Okay, so eventually this Mothership Core will be able to kill all 8 Lurkers here, if it has an Observer and like 20 years. And it looks like Worldless Doom will back off for now. He has killed like. He hasn't killed 2 of the bases, but he killed the mineral lines of them, so Drumhead's only added about 20 workers here. So he really doesn't have much of an economy to speak of. And that's a lot of Phoenix that are out. Actually opting to go for Phoenix instead of carriers. He hasn't gotten a single carrier yet, even though I think he has fleet beacons. Oh, yeah, I think it got sniped. He had to remake that fleet beacon. But yeah, I don't think Drumhead will be able to get out carriers in time. And even if he does, Mutas are actually a decent response to carriers if you have good numbers of them already. And even though he has Phoenix out, I don't think he has enough Phoenix to fight against the Mutas with any efficiency. And Drumhead gonna tap out. Alright, so we'll be going into our third game very shortly. Okay, so now we're going to be going on a map that I think Drumhead might like a bit more. Going into Acolyte. And, it's definitely a map you can get out some carriers on. If that's what Drumhead really wants to go for. That was again a pretty close game in some parts. I think I didn't like the opening from Drumhead very much. But he was in a pretty decent spot, and I will switch screens here in just one moment. I know what I'm doing currently. Okay, so now we are looking at the inside of this game. So, spawning up here in the top right side of Acolyte in the purple, we have World is Doom, currently up 2-0. Down here in the bottom left, you have in green on about to get match pointed, as they say. It is Drumhead. Okay. So let's see what Drumhead has to offer this time. This is definitely a nice macro map for Protoss. I would even go as far as to say it's a great macro map for Protoss if they so choose. You can pretty much guaranteed get up to like 3 bases and get some carriers out if that's what you want to do. It's not like OP or anything, but it's just a good map. So, what is World of Doom going to go for that pool? Probably. Okay, looks like it's going to be Hatch Gas Pool. A pretty normal opening. I really do not know why Drumhead got this assimilator that early. Like, he's had that for a decent amount of time. Also, that's really nice so you can look for the glass and like see that thing. Oh my god, this is so freaking cool. Every time it goes, like, look, you can see the green cubes appearing of Vespian. That's amazing. I did not know that until this day. And I'm interested to see what Drumhead goes for this game. I honestly feel like he's better at controlling 2 warp prisms than he is 1. So we'll see if he decides to go for that single warp prism play this time. Because his last harassment didn't pay off very well. This is pretty much the boring part of the game, where this is what the closest thing we have to fighting. This is 2 Zerglings committing a war crime. That's a pretty early sentry actually from Drumhead. Normally you don't see people getting sentries before warp gate or before gateway, or not gateway, warp gate. I said the right thing the first time. God damn it. I haven't actually noticed if World of Doom's been getting that every game, but he is getting Overlord speed. I don't think I noticed it the last 2 games, but I definitely think I guess I think I realized later on that they got it, but I just assumed you got that later into the game. This is pretty early, this Overlord speed. So I wonder if we'll see Overlord drops, maybe, if we see an Evil Chamber go down. I don't think so. Probably just going to be used to get a good look at the base. And it is finished now. We do have 1 adept actually up here in the main base. Might get 1 drone. It actually might also die. Nope, just barely gets away. And Drumhead's going up to a pretty quick 3 base. Not a surprise. This is a nice base to take. This is a nice base to take. Prime real estate right here. Always invest in land. They're not making any more of it. And looks like Drumhead gone up to 6 gates pretty quickly after his 3rd base. And he is getting a Warp Prism. These Zerglings can actually come in here. Even just forcing Drumhead to use those 2 force fields is pretty annoying. Like, for just a couple lings, that's definitely a good trade. 3 force fields and a damage sentry for like 3 lings. Like, I'd take that deal any day. Okay, so we do see the first Warp Prism of the game coming out. And some more sentries, actually. There's a lot of sentries. I hope Drumhead isn't just gonna, like, do some, like, partying style, like, sentry all in. Because you don't see any Immortals just yet. He's heading across the map with only sentries, so, like, this is pretty suspect. I'm not sure how much I like this play. And Worldless Doom will have access to Banelings pretty shortly here. He will see this on the map actually. Gonna pick off a sentry right away. That's a really nice pick off. I'm assuming this is some sort of all-in or early aggression. Though Worldless Doom hasn't tried to take a 4th yet, he is staying on these 3 bases. And he has roaches coming out, so that'll be pretty good at dealing with this. Especially since he has Ravagers out. Might be a bit more useful against those force fields. I don't exactly know what the plan is the thing. Okay, so he's recalling home. I guess he doesn't want to get caught out. I guess that's a nice move from the Drumhead then. Forces some units out in response to it, but he's not really worried about losing a whole lot. Like, yeah, you lost 1 sentry, but that's not the end of the world. And he's getting up his 4th base before the Zerg is, because Worldless Doom's kind of a bit scared at the moment, unless he's bulking up for an attack. Actually, pretty heavily supply blocked right now. 4 Overlords anyway. Charge is coming up here too, and some more gateways, so that'll definitely improve the infrastructure here for our Protoss player. Be able to warp in more units. And I definitely think Worldless Doom has to go for an attack here if he plans to stay even in this game. He's getting 10 more drones, but he's been at like 55 for quite a while. So I guess he's just going to drone up behind this attack. And this is a decent sized force here. Charge will be done by the time this fight gets underway. And I now have the hiccups. A good amount of pylons. Only one of the overcharges goes off. The Mothership Core does get picked off. Really nicely done there by Worldless Doom. Meanwhile, though, we do have a War Prism with Zealots coming in actually in the natural. And this is completely pulling the world back. I think this is really bad for him, actually. He really needed to go on the attack, try to fight that. I mean, that's a lot of zealots, and they will have +1 attack and +1 armor for pretty shortly, and that's pretty strong. Charge zealots are actually really good right now, I feel. Once you get that charge upgrade, it just becomes so effective. They put so much damage, and they're just such a nice core composition for any gateway-based army. And with how much World of Doom sacrifices Econ to get all these units up, I really feel like he's missed his timing. He's going to be pretty far behind. Four more gateways on the way even, and 6 photon cannons, Templar archives. He's pretty much got everything. This is Protoss Costco. They sell charge zealots in stacks of 24. So World of Doom is getting some Banelings. He's going for another attack here, but I really feel like even though the army supplies are pretty similar, I feel like the supplies don't necessarily tell the whole story. The Protoss units are a lot more efficient than Zerg units. It's just the way she goes. And like until you get to that really late game tech, like most early and mid game Zerg units are pretty inefficient as far as supply goes, especially workers. Meanwhile, Protoss units are just supply efficient, or I guess they're not supply efficient, they're just efficient in general, like all the time. Some pretty big corrosive battles actually going down on a lot of these sentries. It's cutting down his available force fields by quite a lot. Let's see how many. Goddamn, let me click on the fucking sentries. Okay, so he only has 4 sentries left. That's a lot of Banelings. Not even using the force fields. Pretty much all the charge zealots getting hit there by the Banelings. And that's a huge amount of Drumhead's army getting taken out there. You really needed some force fields a bit earlier. Though it's a hard call to make on when they use them. You never know when the Zerg player is going to charge all his Banelings in. Still, a lot of units have gone down here, and reinforcements are a long ways away for World of Doom. And he's constantly warping in zealots here. Even back at home, he's warping in zealots. And not back at home, back at the Zerg's base. So he's picking off drones, and as long as he can survive, he's in a good spot. And World of Doom, I think, made a critical error there by heading home. He really needed to pick off a base. We have 5 Dark Templars running in now. Detection's actually going to be taken out by these zealots, killing that Spore Crawler. I don't see any Overseers around. These DTs are going to definitely get to work. They're going to be able to pick off entire bases here. Though we do have Mutalists on the way, but this will give Drumhead quite some time to respond. As long as he gets a couple Archons and some more cannons, he's going to be perfectly fine versus the Mutalisks. Really needs to pick off that base, like just one click on it. There you go. And even picking off these Ravagers is just really, like, that's just so fantastic here for World of Doom. He's picked off 2 entire bases. You know, the amount of total hatcheries is only at 2 right now, so it's a lot less larvae for World of Doom to work with. These mutas have been forced back. These stalkers do have blink. Almost pick off another muta. This is a tough one. He will get this Warp Prism, luckily, so that's something. He's not able to pick off that Observer just yet. Oops, I just scrolled across the whole map. Cool. And with 5 mining bases up versus like 2 for these Zerg, I feel like World of Doom's in a pretty poor spot this game. 3 hatcheries actually being created right now. Yeah. So he's taking a couple extra bases, but still, with the econ advantage, yeah, like, look, if we look at the income advantage, it's been in Drumhead's favor this entire game. Even peaking at like 2k minerals at a time. Like, that's crazy. And with how inefficient Zerg units are, as we talked about earlier, it's just going to make it a lot harder for World of Doom to make anything happen here. And looks like World is Doom realizes the situation he's in, and GG's called. I think I just hit that twice. Okay, so time to head on to our fourth map. Okay, so episode 4 is going to be in Catalina. Okay, I will switch the screen in just 1 second here. Okay, so spawning up here in the top middle-ish location of Catalina, we have World is Doom in the purple. And in the left side of the map, in the middle-ish, we have our green Protoss player, when in the last game it was Drumhead. Now, this is going to be a map I think is really not going to favor Drumhead style play. The close rush distance is going to make it really easy for World is Doom to really kind of go where he wants. And I think it also means that there's like the harass and the kind of like the drawback tactics that Drumhead's been using, where like if you attack him, he's just gonna drop you in your main and it's gonna draw you back, and it's gonna force you to go protect your main. It's not gonna be as efficient on this map because the rush distances are so short. It's gonna be hard for you to actually pull the army back and not have them not have them be able to just run back like as soon as they can. Rush distances aren't that big, or aren't that long, sorry. And again, same openings. I mean, I think that's pretty common to do the same thing like all the time at the start. I'll give my opinion about that after. World is Doom getting kind of unlucky. First Overlord not going to scout what he wanted to scout. Luckily this one we'll see the space over here in due time. So he knows where he spawned, of course. World is Doom actually supply blocked right now. What's up, dude? Gotta build them overlords. Okay, 3 overlords on the way, holy crap. Okay, so the first add-up's gonna go out on the map here. I think this is the first game that Drumhead didn't probe scout. So this overlord's gonna be his only source of information, as far as I remember. Let's see. I guess he did drone scout. I'm an idiot. And I'll see the exact timing, pretty much, of that third base. So he knows pretty much about when it went down, when it's gonna be up. A lot of Zerglings though on the way here for World is Doom, and those Zerglings are not drones, and that Overlord is not a normal Overlord or detection Overlord. That is a drop things overlord. Looks like World of Doom is going to be the multi-pronged aggressor here. That Stalker just barely getting into position. It's going to stop that swell of links from getting in. And we do have an Sentry on the way. Really seems to pull back here. So there's one more overcharge to work with. But the thing is, there's only one pylon here in the main. Yes, SimCity did off decently well. So there's not going to be a whole lot of surface area. But I don't think Drumhead even knows about this drop. And if he uses that overcharge here, I think he loses. Zerglings in the main base. They're going to pick away at that Twilight Council actually. It's going to be pretty annoying. Not a lot of damage actually on these structures, but these Zerglings are going to run down here and just going to start picking away at that sentry. And they're even going to pick away at these pylons, so if they can unpower the gateway, it's going to be a pretty good spot. Overcharge went off in the main, but I think Drumhead just boned from this. That pylon goes down. That other pylon is still up, but eventually these Zerglings are going to get through. They have 20 more Zerglings on the way, so this is not ending anytime soon. Yeah, really hard to deal with these early link drop styles where they get inside your base. You know, SimCity can't protect you. You really got to have units in position to deal with it, and unfortunately for Drumhead, looks like he's not going to be able to defend against this. Another photon overcharge going down. But still, yeah, these Zerglings just ravaging the natural. That Nexus will go down, Cybercore, this will fell. And even more and more Lings just continually being pumped out. We do have a couple Zealots blocking the ramp though, but I think World of Doom will probably be content with that Nexus going down. I mean, he can kill. And even just barely going to slip by here, actually. It's just one pixel out of position. That's really crappy for Drumhead. And all these Zealots going to get surrounded. This pylon's going to get taken out. And these Zerglings just going to continue to mow on these buildings. I can't imagine that's good for their little Zergling diets. I would not feed this to my Zerglings. But, I mean, like, hey, I don't think anything in the Protoss arsenal is really good for Zerglings. Like, those Zealots don't look very tasty. Those probes are probably all, like, electric and shit. It's like looking to power it. A probe probably tastes like when you lick a battery. I mean, but yeah, these are just going to continue to come in here, picking away at some gateways. And at this point, don't think there's much Drumhead can really do. Yeah, he can only make slow Zealots at this point because he doesn't have a cyber core, nor can he really afford to produce one. And yeah, so World is Doom taking that third game, and he's gonna win that best of 5 series. So congrats to World is Doom. He is our 3rd place finisher for that Allinvitational series. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll upload the VODs on YouTube for the benefit of our players here who might want to watch these, and of course anyone else. Thanks for following me. Appreciate the views, guys. I'll see you around.